any rain, so I decided today would be a good day to take the Rx7 out and give you the rundown on it and what everything is planned for it and everything like that, the whole point of the car, etc. So this is my 93 Mazda Rx7. It's FD body style. I bought it 5 months ago in August. I wasn't necessarily expecting to buy the car as soon as I did. It was something that I wanted to buy, but it just popped up. I wasn't necessarily looking for one. A friend told me about it, that they had a friend selling it, and knew that I was interested in potentially looking at RX7s. The guy that I bought it from had acquired it from his late friend's family. His friend had passed 10 years prior, and his family was hanging on to a couple of his cars. So the guy I bought it from had gotten it with the other cars that he had wanted. However, he didn't necessarily want to keep the RX7, so he sold it. So when I found out that it was available, I went up and took a look at it. It was only about an hour's drive away from where I live. Took the drive out there, checked it out, drove it, and decided that it was too good of a opportunity to pass up on. So we bought the car as is. It's pretty stock. The only things that are aftermarket in it, it has an Apexy ECU, intakes, and an exhaust. So it's relatively stock. Like I said, 54,000 miles on it, and it is a solid car. It's a good example, and I'm pretty happy with it. The reason I bought this car, if you'd seen my garage intro, I kind of touched on it a little bit there. But the reason that I bought it, my cousin and I grew up together, we're really close, and he always dreamed of having a FD Rx7. I always dreamed of having Mark IV Supra. Well, he unfortunately suddenly passed in a motorcycle accident in 2020, and I figured at some point in my life, if I had the opportunity to buy an FD, that I would try to buy it and modify it the way that he would want it modified. However, like I said, I wasn't expecting to buy an FD so quickly. It was within a year of his passing that I was able to buy this. I have a couple things that I think would be a good idea for the car, but it'll be a while down the road. He and I had similar tastes as far as modifications, so it shouldn't be too far off of what he would wanted. Plus, I'd seen enough of what he'd wanted in order to modify it accordingly. As far as drivability for the car goes, it's a fun car to drive. It gets a lot of attention from the people that know what it is, as you could imagine. Steering on it's pretty tight, and it feels balanced as you would expect from Mazda. If you've driven a Miata, it's kind of similar to driving a Miata, but with a little more power and a little more headroom. Also, as I've said in the garage intro, this is a automatic twin turbo version. It's comfortable. It's relatively clean. The issues that I have with it are some typical issues with the car as far as like interior panels and stuff. I'd be the first to tell you of the issues with the car, and there really aren't much. It needs some paint work and odds and ends. So you probably can't see it in frame, but the door handle on the interior is broken. I guess it's a pretty typical issue with the car. And a few other small things, but overall the car's in really good condition. But when those parts come up and I decide to replace those, then I will try to film them and show them to you guys so that you can see the way to fix it and whatnot. As I've said, with this being a memorial project, I want to take it and do it the way that he would want it to be done, which, from what I've seen, he would want wheels and suspension, a lip kit, and maybe a 99 spec wing, but we'll see where we go with it. My cousin and I were very close. We grew up together and kind of shared the same passion for a few different hobbies. I think we'd blame each other for driving us into the automotive world and getting ourselves involved with this hobby and seemingly endless money pit that we got ourselves involved with. We grew up playing with Hot Wheels at a young age, and it kind of moved into watching car movies, car videos, Need for Speed, video games very early in our childhood. And then we started drawing cars and trying to draw the modifications to go along with those cars, until eventually buying our own cars and working on our own cars and figuring out kind of how stuff works and that kind of stuff. And we started looking at Japanese auctions for RX-7s and Supras with the idea that, oh, they're so much cheaper in Japan. Look how cheap they are. Mind you, we were 16-year-old kids that could not afford the cars that we were looking at, and cheap was relative. We saw the cost of them in the US compared to Japan, and in our mind figured they were cheap, but we also had no way to afford $20,000 cars, $15,000 cars at that point, on top of how much it would cost to import them and license them. And we were just kids dreaming at that point. We always wanted to have them, and unfortunately he never got to have an FD. He had an FC at one point, and he enjoyed it. It was NA Auto, which is part of the reason why the automatic in this isn't an issue for me. I'm completely fine with an automatic since his FC was also an automatic. Having the Supra and the RX-7 makes it that much more special to me, and seeing how they're both twin turbo automatics, at least for the time being, it makes that connection even closer. It doesn't hurt that they're also both 93 twin turbo auto and black. Doing a 5-speed swap, although not priority right now, would be ideal. Having the manual transmission and just kind of having that extra connection with the car would be a lot of fun. I haven't looked into what all it entails doing a manual swap, but I might look into it further down the road. So I think that about sums up the RX-7 and gives you a better understanding of what it is and why I have it and all that kind of stuff. I do have some other stuff around the garage for remembering my cousin Cameron and all that stuff, but I hope you enjoyed it. As stuff comes up for the RX-7, we will inevitably dive more into that, and I hope to see you guys then. Thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!